DMX said orchids, like people, take patience, by Charles Radney.
Yeah, I need to share my screen.
Yes, I believe everyone can share. Yes.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. A couple of weeks ago, I got a text message, like most of you did, from Roz Carter, asking me to fulfill a role in today's meeting, potentially as a speaker. I went online because I, like Randy, whenever Roz asks for something, I try to get it done. I went online, signed up as a speaker. There was a lot of work involved in that. And I had already pretty much thought of the topic itself based on some other incidents in my life. Now, after I had done that, on the 28th, which was last week, I was conducting my Attitudes in the Workplace class. It's a class that I really enjoy doing because it's a very interactive class. Over the course of that class, it's an 8-hour class, and typically the people who are sent to the class have been sent by either their HR department or by there may be one of their managers or somebody who feels they have an attitude and feel they need to be in a class like that. In doing so, as I was doing that class, and at the end of it, it's an 8-hour class, I typically play one of the videos from Les Brown. And in that particular video, Les Brown was talking about patience as a part of attitude. And in Les's very booming voice, and typically when I'm playing the video, I'm playing it for the class. I'm not playing it for myself. I'm typically doing something else at that time. And I've played this video numerous times. But on this particular occasion, I happened to hear Les when he talked about patience, he said, anyone can grow roses, but it takes patience to grow orchids. The initial thing that had me started about doing a presentation on orchids and what DMX said. My son had a t-shirt, it was one of the merchandise t-shirts from his business. And on the t-shirt was a picture of DMX holding an orchid. And DMX on that particular t-shirt said, orchids take patience. Now, I'm a t-shirt kind of person. During the pandemic, when I had to go out, I had on a bright red t-shirt that on the back had a big picture of Samuel L. pointing and saying, 6 feet MF. I do political shirts. But as I looked into what DMX was talking about and realized that even though he was known for his action movies, DMX really was involved in growing roses. It was something he really, really enjoyed doing. My success in roses, I've grown 20 roses. I've got 20 roses growing right now. I've got a Neil Diamond. I've got a Dark Knight. My favorite rose is what I call my rescue rose. It is a rose that was on the discount counter, if you will, at Home Depot. But when I started thinking about orchids, I, like so many other people, had gone to the farmer's market, had bought an orchid, and the orchid 2 weeks later was dead. It's kind of like us. We get involved in projects, and if we don't follow through, they die. I've long been a follower of Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy wrote or was the editor of a magazine called Success for Years. And then he wrote The Compound Effect and an Entrepreneur's Roller Coaster. But whenever he was doing live presentations in his yard, he had orchids, which further tempted me to want to know more about growing orchids and realizing that orchids really do take patience. I had to learn how to buy the correct products for the orchid. All coaches will tell you that in the morning, you should have what's called your quiet time, your 30 minutes of quiet time. I use my quiet time in the morning to do my roses and to do a part of my reflection. I found that with orchids, the best way to water them is not to fast water them, but to put ice cubes on them and let it soak in slowly. Just like as we're growing, we should be constantly reading and doing things to improve ourselves on a day-by-day, sometimes slow basis. Think about the investment in time, but what's the reward? The orchid on the left and the orchid on the right are both orchids that had had leaves and had gone dormant. And through patience and just being really committed to making it work, they're both blooming. That for me was great. When you think about the reality though, just like anything else, you're going to have some great success, and you're going to have some failures. Not to say I haven't had any failures in growing some of my orchids. One in the front died. Couldn't bring it back. But when you stop and think about the total investment and the reward on the investment, when I'm doing my 30 minutes a day of reading something that's going to help benefit me, and I'm sitting with my great-grandmother's watchful eyes, I've got one of my orchids right there with me. Madam Toastmaster.